Hello, I'm BrigantiaBlackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Friday and welcome to Storyteller's Corner. This month we're going to be talking about the TV series Firefly, and we're starting with The War. Firefly was a short-lived but beloved show that premiered in 2002, and it was followed up by a movie called Serenity in 2005, and that wrapped up the major plot points to the series, and it gave the audience a more definitive ending because pretty much everyone who loved the show wanted it to continue, and yes, as far as I'm aware, we are all still bitter about it. But if you haven't watched the show, the best way I can describe it is Old West meets space meets pirates. It's set in the year 2517. Humans have left the Earth due to overpopulation. They moved to another star system that was rich with planets and moons, and they began terraforming them to make them suitable for human life. And there were some mixed results with this. Every planet had its environmental quirks. The core planets make up the political, economic, and military stronghold of the society, and they are the most technologically advanced. The further you get to the outer rim, the more rustic things get, and you see more of a pioneer spirit amongst the people. The premise of the show is that America and China were the only surviving superpowers, and when they ventured into space to colonize other worlds, they essentially fused together, including a cultural fusion. And you'll see a lot of those multi-layered cultural influences in every single episode of the show. It's actually really staggeringly beautiful. And once they began populating these new worlds, they established an alliance as the governing body. This led to a civil war, with the outer planets just rejecting the entire idea. The alliance had massively superior numbers, and eventually the opposing forces, called the Independents, who were also known as the Browncoats, they were defeated. And then the show starts a few years after the war, and that's where we meet the crew of Serenity, and Serenity is a Firefly-class ship. The captain is Malcolm Reynolds, and the first mate is called Zoe. They both served in the war together. They were deeply affected by their experiences. The pilot, Wash, is married to Zoe. He's not a veteran, but he is a bit of a misfit. Next, we have Jane, who is a rather large man who is not the brightest crayon in the box, but he's very useful when there's a need for muscles and weapons proficiency and the use of force in general. Then we have Kaylee, who is the ship's mechanic. She's a young woman. She's obviously not someone who would have been old enough to serve during the war. She would have just been, I think, in her early teens at the time. Next, we have Inara Sarah, who is a companion, which is a sex worker. But she's well educated, she belongs to a guild, and this guild has somehow made her profession respectable within that civilization. She rents out one of the ship's shuttles for her business, and in this way she expands her client base because she travels around with the crew, and also because she's there, the captain looks a little bit more respectable, like a serious businessman, and that helps him in his endeavors on the various worlds that they do visit. And now we have the semi-permanent passengers, beginning with Shepherd Book. He's a preacher who has a very mysterious past, an out-of-place knowledge base for someone of his profession, and he recently left his monastery because he wanted to see more of the universe. Last but not least, there's Simon and River Tam, who are a brother and sister. Simon is the eldest, and he's a doctor, and he left his cushy life behind so that he could break his younger sister River out of the so-called boarding school she was in, at which the school was actually experimenting on the pupils to interesting effect. This odd assembly of people who all make their home on Serenity, um, they've come together and they're just this amalgamation. It's very strange seeing the range of personalities and profession on this ship. And it's the captain who's doing his best just to keep one step away from the reach of the Alliance, find profitable work, and just keep flying. Be as free as what was going to be possible under the circumstances. And we, the audience, get to go along for the ride of their adventures. Now, none of these characters are likely to have encountered each other if it had not been for the fallout and the consequences from the Civil War. They probably would never have come together to form a crew, let alone a makeshift family. And as you watch the story unfold, you get glimpses of why the war came about, the division in people's lifestyles, beliefs, perspectives, the difference between life in the core planets and life on the planets that, were finished terraforming about, 5 minutes ago. And there's this ongoing tension. The war may have settled who has political and military control for the moment, but the unification via the alliance literally did nothing to change the reality of people's circumstances or the reasons why they were for or against the alliance. The theme of centralized authority versus individualism and freedom underscores the entire series and the movie. That idea is particularly relevant at this moment because that is the foundation for all the arguments we're facing in our own society. So it's a very interesting how this is actually relatable in the here and now, despite the fact that the story was told nearly 20 years ago. Oh, I guess it has been 20 years now, but still well worth looking into. And that's actually the reason why I'm bringing it up at all. And in the next few weeks, we will go into this much further. But that's all I have to say on the subject for now. Let me know what you think of the series if you're familiar with it in the comments section below, or come on to Discord at Blackbird's Brew. There's a link to join in the description box below, and we'd all be happy to have you. But that'll do it for now. See you in the next one. Bye.